Trump, leaving Trump Tower on 5th Avenue.
They're now making their way across town along 57th Street.
Seriously, are we going to follow this guy to court every day?
My apologies, ma'am. I was sitting 50 feet away. I was having such a struggle to try and get those eyeballs in.
Damn it, woman! Does Donald Trump have eyeballs or no, ma'am? Does he or no?
Jon Stewart stepped into the spotlight once again, and this time it was a flawless victory. His opponent? None other than CNN. Stewart delivered a sharp roast of the network, zeroing in on its tendency to stir up hysteria around all things Trump. In his view, the media frenzy over Trump's potential return to office was overblown, much ado about nothing.
This trial will obviously be a test of the fairness of the American legal system, but it's also a test of the media's ability to cover Donald Trump in a responsible way, a task they have acknowledged they've performed poorly in the past.
Stewart kicks things off by pointing out a surprising turn. Mainstream media actually admitted to being unfair to Trump ever since he announced his presidential run. He admits he didn't believe it at first, until he saw the following clips.
Way too much speculation and liberal wishful thinking and attempts to connect dots that did not connect.
It's the media's responsibility to not get distracted.
I think we were much too busy chasing after shiny objects.
So there you have it, CNN and MSNBC hosts, somewhat sheepishly, admitting they may have gone a little overboard with their Trump coverage. What a relief. For a while there, the Trump derangement syndrome was starting to get downright exhausting. Now, I might be willing to overlook the bias, but the real question is, will Jon Stewart? Let's find out.
I think for this trial, we will see the seeds of that introspection bear fruit. Or we will learn that learning curves are for pussies.
Jon Stewart urges us not to get too starry-eyed over the mainstream media's oh-so-noble confession that they went overboard with Trump coverage. And honestly, I agree. These outlets don't exactly have a track record that inspires trust. Remember, when CNN breathlessly pushed the Russian collusion narrative for years without ever delivering conclusive evidence? Or when MSNBC's Rachel Maddow all but promised that Trump's tax returns would be the smoking gun? And they weren't. And who could forget how both networks treated the Steele dossier like gospel, only for it to crumble under scrutiny? Maybe their confession is genuine. Maybe they've really changed. Let's see.
We go. It's on. It's happening. History will be made.
Shaping up to be the trial of the century.
Maybe the trial of the century.
The trial of the century.
But just might be the trial of the century.
The tax man is here, Donald Trump.
Well, turns out it was all a hoax, called it. These media outlets haven't changed a bit. They're still hooked on Donald Trump as their main source of content. If they stopped covering him, they'd risk losing viewers, ratings, and ad dollars. That so-called confession? Half-hearted at best, more damage control than genuine reflection.
The media's first attempt, the very first attempt on the first day at self-control, failed. And I'm sorry to say that I'm sorry, hold on, we're getting breaking news.
You know, he wanted to get a jury seated, so we had a lady. Bill, I'm sorry to interrupt.
You'd think they're about to drop some earth-shattering revelation, so brace yourself. Consider this your fair warning.
Showing the first image of Donald Trump from inside the courtroom. It's a still photograph that we're showing there. Just I want to make sure our viewers know what they're looking at.
Yep, that was the big earth-shattering news. They interrupted their guest just to show a still photo of Donald Trump sitting in a courtroom. Because, of course, we've never seen a courtroom before. And who even knows what Donald Trump looks like, right? Thank goodness they showed us. What would we possibly do without them?
For our viewers who are just waking up from a 30-year coma, this is what Donald Trump has looked like every day for the past 30 years. Same outfit.
Interestingly, a photo of Donald Trump and a first-hand account of how he looked in the courtroom still weren't enough. No, the media needed a pastel courtroom sketch, just to really drive the point home that yes, he was actually there. Because apparently, high-resolution photos and live updates just don't cut it anymore. Now we need courtroom art to confirm reality. Welcome to Journalism 2025 edition.
Looking at the courtroom sketch, and Mr. Trump looks like he is glowering. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be a glower or just a glance. And I don't know how it's art. It's not necessarily it's artistic journalism, but it's not a photograph.
Okay, this is just hilarious. What's the point of flooding the screen with pictures of Donald Trump when literally everyone in the US knows who he is? The man has been everywhere, long before politics. Entrepreneur, actor, reality TV star, sports figure, you name it. At this point, a blurry courtroom sketch isn't adding clarity. It's pure performance art. Honestly, it's like flashing a photo of the Statue of Liberty and breathlessly announcing, "Breaking news. She's still standing."
Are you showing it to us? It's a sketch. Why would anyone analyze a sketch like it was? It'd be like looking at the Last Supper and going, why do you think Jesus looks so sad here?
The media had just admitted to being a little too obsessed with Donald Trump. In a rare moment of self-awareness, they promised to focus on the essentials and finally move on. But fast forward 5 minutes, and there they were, dissecting a pastel courtroom sketch like it was a newly discovered Rembrandt. Every brushstroke analyzed, every shadow debated, as if it held the secrets of the universe. Jon Stewart wasn't buying it. He tore into the absurdity of pretending to scale back while still serving up the same overhyped spectacle. It was peak hypocrisy, and Stewart made sure the audience saw it for what it was, the media trying to break up with Trump, but still drunk dialing him every night.
I think it's because of Judas. What if we interview one of the waiters at one of the tables from like a different section of the restaurant who maybe didn't actually see him, but, well, you know, we got time to kill. Well, I guess we'll never know.
It's the same cycle, just wrapped in new language. They might admit to overdoing it, but the moment Trump makes a headline, they're right back at it. Panels, analysis, breaking news alerts. It's no longer about informing the public. It's about fueling a narrative that keeps the lights on. And whether they like it or not, Trump is the one who keeps the bills paid.
Perhaps if we limit the coverage to the issues at hand and try not to create an all-encompassing spectacle of the most banal of details, perhaps that would help.
Trump is their golden goose. Every time he tweets, speaks, or even breathes in a way they can spin, it's breaking news. They've built entire news cycles, sometimes lasting weeks, on vague speculation and sensational headlines, always with Trump's name front and center. So when they suddenly act self-aware and admit they might have overdone it, it's hard to take them seriously. It feels less like genuine accountability and more like PR damage control. The addiction is still there, they just don't want you to notice.
Leaving Trump Tower on 5th Avenue.
They're now making their way across town along 57th Street.
Seriously, are we going to follow this guy to court every day?
So, you see, I wasn't wrong in saying that Donald Trump was prime news fodder for CNN and MSNBC, and keep in mind, this was during Joe Biden's presidency, with Kamala Harris actively positioning herself for a future run. There were plenty of pressing issues, rising inflation, a chaotic border, foreign policy missteps. Yet CNN and MSNBC still chose to center their coverage on Trump's court cases as if nothing else mattered. The sitting administration was barely held accountable, while the networks remained fixated on the former president. That's not journalism, that's obsession.
Apologies, ma'am. I was sitting 50 feet away. I was having such a struggle to try and get those eyeballs in.
Damn it, woman! Does Donald Trump have eyeballs or no, ma'am? Does he or no?
Jon Stewart didn't hold back, keeping the heat on CNN for their relentless obsession with Trump. In the clip we just saw, CNN was actually interviewing the courtroom sketch artist, trying to get insights into how Trump behaved during the hearing. Yes, really. They asked her why Trump appeared to be frowning in the sketch. Her response? She was 50 feet away and couldn't clearly see his expression well enough to draw it accurately. That didn't stop CNN from analyzing the image as if it were some kind of psychological profile. Stewart couldn't resist mocking the absurdity. This is where we've landed, speculating on Trump's mood based on a blurry pastel. Journalism or interpretive art? Hard to tell.
At this point, you're probably saying to yourself, how many television hours have they devoted to what Donald Trump, a man who has not been off any of our screens for more than 30 seconds in the last 8 years, looks like?
The obsession with Trump is off the charts, endless airtime, non-stop panels, and headlines all revolving around one man simply because he is the story. What's really striking is the contradiction. They act like they hate him, but deep down, they can't get enough. Why? Because because Trump pulls in the ratings, and ratings mean money. It's a toxic cycle fueled by outrage. Every sneeze becomes breaking news. While they clutch their pearls on camera behind the scenes, they're watching those numbers climb. Jon Stewart sees it, we see it, and, frankly, so does Trump. He knows he's their most dependable content source, and he plays them like a fiddle, every single time. Take the moment. Trump craned his neck to look at the jurors and flashed that tight-lipped smile instantly. Every gesture became headline material, feeding the endless coverage machine.
Trump craned his neck to eye prospective jurors and flashed a tight-lipped smile.
Leaning to the left a little bit, quiet, his arms crossed as well.
Hunched over with his elbows on the desk. Looked through papers and periodically whispered to his attorneys.
Fidgeted.
No wonder Trump won the election. He was the center of attention from start to finish. The media couldn't stop talking about him day in and day
She
out.
called out Joy Reid as the most
Meanwhile,
racist person.
Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and even governors like Tim Walz barely made a dent in the news cycle by comparison. It was as if the entire political narrative revolved around Trump, giving him more visibility than any of his opponents could ever dream of. And let's be honest, in today's media landscape, visibility is power. Constant coverage, positive or negative, kept Trump front and center, cementing his image as the dominant political figure. When voters see one candidate dominating the airwaves every hour while others fade into the background, the choice starts to feel inevitable. The irony? The very networks trying to undermine him ended up amplifying his presence, turning every criticism into free campaign advertising. Talk about backfiring. In the end, Jon Stewart's takedown wasn't just about media hypocrisy, it was a mirror held up to a system addicted to the very figure it claims to oppose. Mainstream media claims it's moving on from Trump, yet it can't resist zooming in on courtroom sketches and speculating about his facial expressions. Despite their confessions, the obsession remains, and that obsession is exactly what keeps Trump relevant. By giving him wall-to-wall coverage while sidelining other political figures, they've helped shape the very political landscape they pretend to critique. Stewart didn't just call them out, he exposed the codependency. Trump may be their favorite villain, but he's also their biggest star, and deep down, they know it. With that, we'll draw the curtains on today's video. If you enjoyed our commentary, hit the like button and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.